welcome everybody. Welcome. My name is Bruce Starr, and I am very excited to have on, gosh, Ricky, someone that I've known. I was figuring it out today. I think we've known each other for about 35 years. I mean, it's hard to believe. But Rick Overton, he's been in the business for a long time, a comedian, stand-up comedian, actor, born in Forest Hills, Queens. I didn't know that, Ricky, until just a few moments ago. Grew up in Englewood, New Jersey, where he attended Dwight Morrow High School. I'm sure that must have been a lot of fun for you. Rick has appeared in hundreds of TV shows and movies, probably at least 100, starting in 1982 with the film Young Doctors in Love. Followed by a small role in Airplane 2, the sequel later that year. And I know that you were a writer on Evening at the Improv, and I could swear that you were also one of the performers there, but you'll let me know if that's true or not. In 1987, he wrote an episode of The New Adventures of Beans Baxter, while also appearing in various films and television shows, including Willow, Amazing Stories, and $1 Million Mystery. 1992, he landed a role in the Fox network sketch comedy show The Edge, and the show ended in 93, and later that year, Rick, he appeared in 2 episodes of Seinfeld, The Drake, if I'm not incorrect there, and also landed a small role in Mrs. Doubtfire. The following year, he won an Emmy for writing an episode of Dennis Miller Live, and Dennis is also an old friend. 2005, Rick appeared in The Alias and Joan of Arcadia, and in the latter he played God. I want to hear a little bit about that. You look like you could play a pretty good God, Rick, but you'll tell me more about that. And to those who knew him, as I did in the 80s, he was known as one of the better guys who had a good brain on his shoulders. And inside the comedy business, he's known all throughout the industry as Robin Williams' buddy and favorite improvisational partner. Welcome to the show, Rick. Thanks so much for coming on board. We've been talking about this for quite a while now.
Thanks a lot, Brucey. I'm glad we found the time to make it all work out.
Yes. So, Ricky, I'm so curious. Eddie Murphy also came from the island, and so many of the guys.
I started out with Eddie.
Reiser, so many of the guys came from the New York area. But tell me about how do you get from Queens to New Jersey to getting into Manhattan and later on Los Angeles as a comedian? How was that even possible?
Take the bridge. You're a borough away. If you can't do that, you're not going to survive the business. If you can't get one borough away, with all the mass transit there, or taxis, or on foot, business will just, evolution didn't want you to be in the game.
They'll eat you up and spit you out if you can't go one borough, huh?
Yeah, right. I lived in New Jersey for a long time. Because in 1966, my dad was a jazz man, and he arranged for Thelonious Monk, and he'd hang out with Dizzy Gillespie and, Miles, all those guys. And and Diz said, parking's getting nuts in Queens, man. You ought to move out to the suburb of Manhattan. It's called Englewood, New Jersey, which it was considered then a suburb. And so we all moved out to Englewood, New Jersey, so we could live near Diz. And so I would take the red and tan bus line into Manhattan in my comedy team with Roger Sullivan in the early, mid-'70s. And we did 5 years, and then they paid, and the more they paid, the more you'd fight with your partner over whose premise was more important than whose punchline or whatever, and we broke up because of that. But then I would break out on my own and go to the clubs. And by then I was living in New York, and it just went on and on and on from there. Met Eddie Murphy when he was in Identical Triplets with Jim Myers and it was at one time it was Klaus Myers. Remember the comedian Klaus Myers?
Yeah.
And Rob Bartlett was another one of the ones. And anyway, he put on a tour de force back then that everyone said, "Oh, this guy's going to bounce out of that group," you know. They're gonna put him way ahead, and it happened. I was in a competition with him in I think it was 1980 on Showtime. It was a comedy competition with me, Leifer, Middleman, Eddie, and Mark Schiff.
Wow.
And I came in the middle. Middleman got first, Schiff got second, I got third, and Leifer got fourth, and Eddie got last. And that just shows you how much these competitions really add up in the long run, you know. Of course, Leifer went on to, you know, great Seinfeldian fame, and well, everyone's done well. So I just think it's insane that we timed it to be born so that by the time you're old enough to be allowed into one of those places, it's just as the era is giving a complete shit about the fact that you do it at all. You know what I mean? We caught the comedy boom. I cannot believe I caught the comedy boom. I'm not just the funny guy who missed the boom at an office somewhere. Insanely lucky break. I turned it into acting work, but I still do the stand-up a lot. I do it because I just love how it feels.
Is it my imagination because I was there, you know, as an agent and a manager in the 80s? Would you call that a golden age for at least our generation because of evening and
comedy boom?
At the Improv?
Comedy boom. There was the comedy boom, and you don't get two booms. You get one boom and then whatever else happened afterwards, whether it stays or goes, but it's never the boom again. There's never the gold boom again. I mean, a housing bubble. We weren't dealing with a bubble. We were dealing with a boom. The one and only time in Earth history when everyone would care this much about guys on stage with mics in their hands. It still exists to one degree or another, but it'll never go back to that again.
And let's take a break for these brief but important messages, and then we will be back with Rick Overton and some incredible insights about the death of Robin Williams. Don't go away.
Hello, everybody. This is Madam Coach Correa, Love and Pillow Talk, WGSN-DB radio show. Join me every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern and learn about love relationships and how they relate to your soulmate.
And welcome back. And now more with Rick Overton.
And you know, for me, the way I fit in was I just moved out from living in Boston for 10 years and just ended up being Barry Marder's roommate and hanging around with Bruce Smirnoff and Goldstein.
Great actor. Goldstein showed up in a lot of movies. Remember him in Die Hard in the newsroom?
No, I didn't.
Everybody in the audience, all comics are Goldstein in the middle of everyone's going, what? What the hell are these guys talking about? We know the news guy. That's why we said it.
So, well, you know, even somebody like myself who didn't have a strong comedy background, you know, I was able to have a position, have a place in that golden age by being an agent. You know, for you and 30 other guys. It just happened at that time where the comedians, William Morris didn't want to waste their time trying to get $1,000 gigs, $2,000 gigs for the comedians, and there I was, and I found a place for myself in that boom, in that golden age.
That's right, you did. That's right.
And it was amazing, especially Ricky. Probably the most fantastic part about that was literally going to the Improv every night, because it was not just the place to go, but it was where we worked. It's what we did. It's how we got to know everybody, and then past that exciting time came 11 or 11:30, sometimes 12 o'clock at night, and that's when it really started getting exciting, when people like Billy Crystal would kind of come on stage and need to work out stuff before he took on Saturday Night Live, and you and a guy named Robin Williams. Robin Williams, you guys used to come on stage, and everybody else just kind of the seas just parted, and you guys got up there and just killed, maybe for a handful of audience, but mostly for the agents and the other comedians.
Like, I miss them, I miss playing that fast. I miss going at that speed. I miss it, and I miss him. I miss my friend. And a lot of myths going around about what happened with him and how it all. And to say that in the most step-by-step abstract sense, you could say that drugs did claim him, but only because there were decades in between their use, cessation, but the damage they had done to the heart, and 40% of heart patients who have a heart stopped and restarted again go suicidal because the heart has its own separate tiny computer that regulates mood and one's ability to self-preserve. And it doesn't always restart when you restart the heart after you've sewn the new valves in, the bovine or porcine valves in, and then you stitch the heart up again. Not everyone who has the heart restarted restarts that computer. And it's like that little wheel goes around forever. Whereas your laptop does that, you go, well, then I'll just restart again. And I'll restart again and again and again until it stops the wheel. The heart has no such luxury. You restart it once, and if it didn't look like it's working right, you don't have the luxury of stopping it again and starting it. That's your ass as a doctor if you stop it again and it doesn't start. Then it's like a scene from The Nick. You just killed somebody on the table and on your watch and on your insurance policy. You'll become uninsurable. And so no one bothers to really check in on what happens to a heart after it's restarted and if all systems came up. They don't acknowledge the little computer mood regulator in the heart. But, poetry acknowledged it. Your heart, you're low in your heart. The mood hits the heart. There was an intuition that understood it, and now science understands it. But a lot of doctors, the system isn't set up for them to completely accommodate that situation. They'll be sued. They'll be ruined for trying to do something else about it. And certainly there should be, instead of that, a system set up to check in on people after their heart has been restarted to see how their mood is and what to do, and not just fill them with pills. Stop giving everybody pills. Stop giving children pills. How many friends of yours have disappeared as a friend while still walking around alive because they're on this stuff and you don't recognize that person in that skin suit anymore? Bruce, how many friends have you lost to things like that, or people you knew?
I mean, you and I are on Facebook all the time reading each other's stuff, and your brain just wants to explode about what the pharmaceuticals are doing and how they've gotten.
A school kid on this shit. Who could put a school kid on this kind of shit, Brucey? Who would do that to a little kid? Watch a kid just go, oh, he's too hyperactive. It's because you're boring. You suck as a teacher. Your classroom is bullshit filled with topics he will never use in his life, and his mind is looking at bigger goals, and you're punishing him for it. It just makes me mad. And when we bring up the topic of Robin, I feel joy and anger and everything all at once. I feel anger at the way he's been misdescribed. Yeah, I don't know if he was misprescribed, and I don't know if all the toxicology results could ever figure it out when you also have on top of everything else that you're dealing with the heart and the medication and the mood and crossing medications, and then add to that you have Parkinson's, and then medicate all three on top of that. It's not a known science what happens when you mix all these cocktails. The experiment is on us. We're the guinea pigs, and the results are slowly tallied as not separate lives, but statistics.
And when you have somebody like Robin, who like you said, he's been experimenting with drugs a long, long time. Even if he stopped
experimenting with drugs decades ago, he would have a drink now and then. He did fall back on have a drink every now and then. That's easy to do, Boy, it's freaking everywhere, isn't it? So he wasn't a druggie. He was a heart patient. He was a heart patient with Parkinson's. And so when people say, well, how could he do that to his family? How could he abandon him? It wasn't him. It stopped being him. I would play with him. He'd come back when we did set list. When we improvised on that comedy show set list where a stand-up comes up on stage and you throw suggestions and they have to turn and start talking about that topic that they'd never thought of any material for, live time in front of a crowd. That listed that, and that brought, there's that face, there it is. There's the guy I know. I just saw his face come back during set list. But it wasn't back all the time like it used to be. It was starting to go away. His mood would roll dark and then really quiet and really dark, and that's when you know it's this other stuff. Walls doing this on him,
It was amazing to get your opinion about all the stuff that happened to Robin. It was amazing to hear from you, and I don't even know if I knew that he'd had an open heart procedure. I don't know if everybody...
He did a Tonight Show spot about it, big thing up to here. He said, I got bovine valves in, and now so... Yeah, the whole thing about it. That's one of the defining, changing elements to what happened to him. I know the guy from before, and I know the guy from after. Known him for decades. I don't want his legacy to be in the hands of Fox News or people that just need to make a sensational thing out of what happened. It's not sensational. It's sad. It's sad that we lost a comic force like that. The business took a hit. We all took a hit. Even people that didn't know him took a hit. I run into people who say they stopped in traffic and cried and, froze at work or had to go home, and they never met him. But it's like they knew him. Yeah, I want the legacy to go like this thing that took out our friend was a mechanical thing. Something mechanically broke. Not he decided, and I'm suddenly going to turn evil and abandon my family or any shit like that. None of that is true. It mechanically broke, and the brain that would have decided differently no longer was functioning to do that. And a set of emotions he could have survived under other circumstances, he no longer could. His defenses, there's a mental immune system too. And the mental immune system is when something horrible happens, you don't reach for a knife and cut your wrist. You see it and go, what do I do about this? Can I do anything about it? If not, how can I accept it? As opposed to, well, then that's it, so long. It's one version is, I still belong in the world where that happened. And the other decision is, I no longer belong in the world where that occurred. Two different mountains. And that valley between is whatever you're putting into yourself. Because I think every human is sold with the software to choose the mountain where I can endure this. Unless you're loaded with so many chemicals and toxins that you go, ugh, even if I survive it, I don't even feel like I belong anywhere anyway. These pills make me feel like I'm an alien wherever I go.
Yeah, it's rough. I can't believe, when we were, hanging together, let's say in the 80s, life was very different. There were not commercials every second about selling drugs to us.
That's right. There's every commercial now is, do you have a restless leg? Yeah, I got a restless fucking leg. I'm not taking your pills just because my leg likes to jump around. You invent problems to sell me shit to solve, and then I gotta take 10 more pills to solve the problem from the other pills. I've never seen a commercial for anything that had side effects, and then they still sell it like that. If a car said, this car can suddenly not have any commands from the steering wheel, go to the front end, and it can just miss a curve and throw you up a mountainside. Ask your car dealer if this car is right for you.
That's a good point, Rick.
And then she's happily driving it across the freeway where it isn't doing anything bad. The commercial shows it working. Well, they make us warn you about this other part. Yeah, good. Yeah, I'm mad at the makers of that stuff. They've taken a lot of my friends away. Personal. But that's okay with me.
Hey, you are listening to Business Insight with your host, Bruce Starr. More incredible insights about the world of show business and about the death of Robin Williams when we come back after these brief but important messages.
This is Cece Schatz, and I'm an inspirational speaker, divorce, life, and transitional coach with a unique style of healing from within. With that, been here, done that approach to life. I hope you'll join me each and every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time with Going Solo with Cece, where we bring you educational, informative discussions through the devastation feelings of divorce to finding yourself and redefining your best life. We will take a lighthearted and candid approach to discussions on the journey of divorce, parenting, being single, relationships, dating, and yes, sex. So be sure to tune in every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time with Going Solo with Cece.
Welcome back, everybody. More incredible insights with my guest, Rick Overton, into the world of show business.
Yeah, it's it's sometimes you feel like a dinosaur as the years go on, and you just can't believe how different things are than the way they were. And certainly, when we were growing up, we were watching people who would go out into the streets, not high on pharmaceuticals, but because they didn't agree with something. They didn't agree with a war. They didn't agree with the way women were treated. They didn't agree with the way blacks were treated. And they went out and got so mad that they marched and demonstrated. And then I think the higher ups said to themselves, let's figure out a way to medicate everybody so that when we pull what we pull, people will just go, far out, man. What is going on? Instead of, that's crazy, I want to do something about it. It's a different world.
Bingo. You nailed it. It's crowd suppression. And and you talk to someone who's on those pills, they go, oh no, it saves my life. It's saving my life. Oh no, don't you come for that. I will fucking cut you. I will fucking cut you. And I never cut anyone, but if you come for my antidepressants, I'm going to cut you. Oh, no, I'm not addicted. My doctor said it was okay. So if a doctor says it's okay, I'm not addicted. Oh, man. Not fucking fooling me. Well, yeah, I think it's Farmageddon.
Wow.
It's taking us out. And there's only one way the devil or a vampire can get in your house. What do you have to do? How does a vampire get in your home? What do you have to do at the doorway?
You let him in.
You let him in.
Wow. Just yesterday I said to a lady, I said, so, very innocent. They said, how many different pharmaceuticals are you on? Oh, I'm not on any, but I do take two. I take two pills, one for this and one for that. But my son, he has to be on a lot of different pills.
I don't know the situation, so I'll just respect what you say.
So let me ask you, just to change of pace. Tell me about the first times when you came out to Los Angeles. Tell me about those first days, maybe either the first days out in LA when you were knocking on doors, or did you find your way to working at the Improv or the Comedy Store? How long did that take you?
I was already sort of in because of the Improv in New York. So they just knew I would get spots there because it was everyone's talking to everybody on the phone, and they knew I'd be one of the guys coming out. So they set it up. I immediately started doing very well. It was instant because they had more rooms than comics. They needed us. We were the commodity, not them. So we were comedy commodity, and we went everywhere and got spots everywhere because there was room for us before the glut hit. Once we went on TV and made it look like such a good idea, everyone wanted to try it after that because it didn't occur to them until they saw it on TV. After that, there were so many guys, suddenly there weren't as many spots. So you try to find more rooms elsewhere, and then it just scattered. It was like hitting a puddle of mercury with a hammer.
How long did that take, Ricky? How long did it take before you started saying, where are all these guys coming from? From, say, let's say, from 80 to 85 was, say, sort of a bit of a golden age, evening at the Improv. Everybody was on it, all the guys.
It really occurred to us. 1992, 93, started to say, okay, boom's almost over. And you recognize history. You can see these things come and go. No such thing as a boom that lasts forever. It can't be called a boom anymore. It levels, and then it plateaus and drops. As a new thing comes in, improv is in many ways becoming the new thing. Sketch and improv is turning into the new boom, not the same boom. It wasn't like rock and roll. We were closer to rock and roll in our boom.
Yeah.
The get laid version of the boom, isn't there? Not a lot of getting laid from improv. Man, there is, within groups, but it's not the same thing. It's not that explosion. Oh, we got to meet you after the show. You got a burst of brief celebrity out of it that was above and beyond what you would expect now.
You bring up 92, 93. I left in 86. And then I came back every once in a while just to say hello. And it must have been around 91 or 92. I was shocked, Ricky, when I went. I couldn't wait to go to the Improv. I couldn't wait to go and even just to see if I knew a few of the guys. And then, I pulled in there at 9 or 10 o'clock at night one night. The place there was nobody in there. It was quiet.
Yeah, it was the first time you saw a dead room, and the boom is starting to fade now, man.
And the riots and like earthquakes or something went on, and
yeah,
it was I couldn't believe how different it was.
There you go. So I went into acting and writing and other things like that.
Now, you appeared on Evening at the Improv as
why don't you ever read any of my credits from this millennium?
Because there's too many to read. What actually I'd like you to tell us.
You stopped working in the 80s. Read recent ones. Note. Read the recent ones. Those are the ones I can see. They'll see in reruns. I want the recent stuff in reruns. I'm pushing that stuff.
Tell me about some of those shows. First, let's start with Seinfeld, because you did a couple of Seinfelds. Let's talk about that for a second.
There's a real Drake, evidently. Like Larry always uses the names of real people, sort of, and he'll have a little in-joke on the person. Drake, there was a real Kramer, as we all know, from Freddie Stoller's ongoing story. And I came in, and they let me add one element, his explosive crying, because of the massive discomfort it would put the guys in, because they don't like being around emotions like that. So George and Elaine were rather uncomfortable around us when I'm just exploding in tears and disintegrating. So they let me put that in because it just makes it a little more horrible when they have to get out. And so it was a lot of fun. There was a lot of cracking up on the set. Larry, I tried the crying for him in the office, and he said, "Okay, that's pretty funny." It's like you like that I brought an idea, and I've been in Curb Your Enthusiasm since. I was in the baptism episode where Mitch is gonna marry a shiksa, so she wants him to convert to Christianity, so they're gonna baptize him. But when Larry arrives, he just thinks they're drowning a Jew, and so he stops the baptism, destroys the wedding, and at the end there's the leader of the Jewish side of the family and the leader of the WASP side, and the two balls sort of meet in this household. I'm the leader of the WASP family, and I positioned myself so I'd line up with, David Feldman and friends, so I know if we're ripping, I'm ripping with another comic, So that's the story on Larry David and all the Larry David things I've done.
Stay tuned for more of Business Insight with Bruce Starr, with my special guest, Rick Overton. A lot more insight about inside show business and inside Curb Your Enthusiasm. So don't go away. We will be right back.
Hey everybody, this is your girl, Dr. MV, host of Singles Get Real. Catch the show every Thursday evening at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you missed the show, simply check out my podcast. Thanks for listening to WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network.
Back to Business Insight with Bruce Starr and my very special guest, Hollywood stand-up comedian and actor and writer Rick Overton, and a lot more insight to the inside of show business, especially Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Well, tell us a little bit about Curb. Tell us what it's like to work inside Curb, because some people may or may not know it's very loosely scripted. Tell us a little bit about that and how it's different to work on a show like that.
It's not scripted. It's just there's a beat sheet. Larry comes in to the room while they're arguing over the destroyed wedding. Both sides of the family converge and argue, end on Larry's face. And that's like the description, And so when we'll go in, WASP leader, angrily, he's angry and soaking wet because we had to dive in to get everybody out because Larry dove in. It was going to ruin the baptism, so we all have to go fish Mitch out. And because it was in Castaic, it was supposed to be in a river with moving water, and there was no moving water, so they had the rope of motor water. Water was moving, so you wait. And so that's it, basically. It's very loosely structured with beat sheet, and it just says this beat, and Larry would say, this can't take forever, obviously. It has to end in roughly, if you want to see your gags and not have them all cut out, think in terms of saying something concise and tight. Don't take forever to say it. Good note, all you improvers are doing mock-you style. Think of how it looks natural while you have edited it down to a usable space. Look at a show. Look how long those things take. And if yours is going longer than the ones you see on TV, that's probably because they won't use one your length. So learn to edit while improving.
And
don't take forever.
That
is an improv note, by the way.
No one's had more success improv than you. I mean, whenever I'd see, you and Robin head up on stage, whatever I was doing in the outside room, I followed you guys up there because I knew it was going to be outstanding. How did that whole relationship start with you and Robin? I mean, how does a relationship start with a Robin Williams?
We both sat and talked, and both said we had the same hero. Jonathan Winters.
Oh, sure.
And a friendship was bonded around identical heroes. Jonathan was my hero. One of my heroes. George Carlin was another. And I'll be going to Manhattan this next week, on Wednesday, for the coronation of George Carlin Way in Manhattan, which makes me very happy that an outrageous boat-rocking comedian still gets a street named after him. Means things are changing for the better. Because there was a great resistance to making a George Carlin Way, a church on the street. No, he hates the church. What are you doing naming the street with a church on it after him? Too bad. Here it comes. Too many people voted on it. It's our city, too. Good. I like when that happens. Let's see what other walls that breaks down. like he did.
Well, you know what? The world is a sadder place since he's gone. And, we know he's gone a long time because he would come and bam, he would put it right in your face, whatever the politicians were doing. I couldn't imagine his head would explode with this pharmaceutical stuff being on every commercial. I mean, he would have let everybody have it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I miss him. I miss him. I miss Jonathan. I miss Robin. Beloved Robert Klein, my other hero. I hope to see him this week. I love you, Robert. You are so formative to me, man. And I love hanging out with you. So, let's see what else is coming up. I just had an episode. Oh, I'm sorry. You have a question. Go ahead. I didn't mean.
What else is going on for you in this decade? Because I'm sorry, I'm a little bit behind. And what's going on for you this year? I know you just finished a couple of things, and some other things are coming up for you.
Yeah, I just shot an episode of it's a new Comedy Central show called Another Period, and it's a parody of Downton Abbey. And I have a great scene with Dave Keckner. That'll be coming up towards the end of the season. I'm in the last or next to last episode, so it's as the season runs out, you'll see me. And I'm just did the Zeitgeist show, and that's up on. You can see videos of that on YouTube on the Zeitgeist channel. And I got a couple of things I can't talk about yet because you know how the jinxing works. But I was in that Soderbergh film a few years ago called The Informant with all comedians. And I was Matt Damon's boss. And yeah, so there's a few good things coming up in the near future. A couple of indies, and we'll see if they go. I don't know jinx them yet.
Forgive me, Rick. I want to go backwards for one more second because this is one of the most important questions that I wanted to ask you, and we had so much fun going off in different directions. I remember one time when I asked a girl to dance, and I never danced so well in my whole life, and it had so much to do with this partner. It was just unbelievable to dance with this one person. I've never been able to do it since. You would think that we were professionals dancing together for decades. Tell me about the first few times when you worked with Robin, when you went on stage at the Improv. What was that like? What was that energy like? What was the air like around you when you looked around and you said, I'm in this place with this guy and we are jiving? Tell me what that's like.
Remember that scene in Mission Impossible where Tom Cruise is climbing out the top of the bullet train, trying to catch John Boyd, who's going to hitch up to the helicopter and get out of there?
Yeah.
It was like that. Only I was way many cars back. And you're going at 300 miles an hour while trying to hang onto a smooth aluminum surface. And I didn't do anything but try to suction draft and stay somewhere in the vicinity of everything he was doing at that speed, because you certainly couldn't compete or top it. So you didn't compete with it, you worked with it, you tried to hang on near it. It's going so fast until you build up your own muscles and speed so much that he will start to defer to your initiation, and that came a few years later. That would happen in small examples up front. And then more and more I could start a thing that we would both turn into a scene as opposed to I'm just the guy following up with punchlines on everything he initiated. And that just comes with confidence and repetition and his willingness to turn and allow it to happen. And we built it. We built it from scratch.
With him being so, what appears to be not erratic, just way out there, was he a control guy?
I never really viewed him as a control freak. I don't know if that's the set of traits. I just think he's a wild pony. And if you want to run, you can, but don't make me slow down to do it. I can't argue with that philosophy. I don't want to have to do a bunch of scenes with a non-improver every night who doesn't know anything about any of the rules, keeps fucking every scene up and denying and destroying every scene and making me look bad. I want someone who's got the chops. I want someone that's better than me every time so that I am then inspired and have to rise to it or fail.
Who are some of the other guys that were able to somewhat keep up?
Jeremy Kramer, Steve Pearl, Charlie Fleischer, Mark Pitta. Get out and play with him. You know, there's a bunch of guys. He's up in Northern California now doing the Throckmorton Theater. Mark Pitta and friends every Tuesday in Mill Valley. I love that place. My favorite place is on earth to work. Love it. Love Lucy. Love the Throck. Guys, Northern Cal guys, go to the Throckmorton and see an amazing show in a historical landmark theater where Charlie Chaplin did vaudeville years ago. So dig.
Wow. And Ricky, just a couple of last questions. Who are some of the other guys that you keep in touch with? Because, you know, the way when I introduced you, you know, you and I did a show together back in Florida back in the 90s where you were in town, you were playing at one of the clubs, and you were kind enough to do a TV show with me. And I realized then, you're a deep guy, Ricky. You think things out, and you're kind of like me where you just don't accept things that don't make any sense. So who are some of the other guys that you keep in touch with because, you know, they're just really good guys that you really enjoy spending time with?
Gilbert. I keep in touch with Gilbert from the old days, a guy I've known like 40 years, which is ages and ages. And so Gilbert and I stay in touch, and he's as amazing as ever back in New York, and I admire his brass balls. He will risk an entire lucrative account to get a joke out. And, you know, to lose Affleck like that was a heavy thing, but you got to give it to the Aristocrats guy for that, right? You got to give it to him. That's the most comic move ever, to get that back of the room joke, friends laugh, and nobody, you know. I think he's remarkable. And I talk to, from the old days, Mendoza every now and then I'll see. Just heard from Alan Havey. We talked, and he's a brilliant actor. My God, have you seen him on Mad Men? He does every comic a favor with how great his work is on that, because it's like, yeah, that's right, we act. We're good. Hire us. We're good. Yeah, I talked to a lot of guys. Joey Gaynor, Bruce Baum I talked to. Yeah, a lot of the old guys.
That's great, man. That's great. Yeah. You know, I really want to thank you for doing this with me. I know we've talked about this for months, and even longer than that. And I'm glad that you set aside some time and we can do this. I really appreciate it. You know, you're a good guy, and I appreciate you coming on board here and sharing, you know, Rick Overton with us.
Thank you for asking me, Brucey. It's always good to talk with you, buddy. How's everything down in FLA?
You know what? It's pretty good. I hope that if you ever get down here, that we can see each other again. It's a lot calmer than California. The weather's beautiful. You can see in the background, and you got the palm trees, and you know, it's more relaxing. Yet it's, you know, I miss the activity of that golden age, and it's something that I'll never forget. And it was such a golden time in my spirit, and it's great to go over that with you and hear it from your point of view.
Thanks for inviting me, man. I look forward to the next one, Brucey.
God bless, Ricky. Ricky Overton, thank you so much. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
What an incredibly insightful interview with Rick Overton. All that inside information, not only about show business, not only about Curb Your Enthusiasm, not only about the world of stand-up comedy and how they think and what they do when you're not watching them or seeing them on TV, but also incredible insights about the death of Robin Williams, as told by Robin's best show business friend, Rick Overton. So I hope to have more insightful interviews for you as time goes on. And spread the word about this one, because this interview needs to be heard by a lot of people. And stay around. Be here again for another business insight show with Bruce Starr. Bye-bye, everybody. By the way, if you'd like to contact me, you can at brucestar412@gmail.com. brucestar412@gmail.com. It's STARR. And I look forward to hearing from you, your remarks about the show, and your suggestions for other shows in the future. Bye-bye, everybody.